all you thoughtfully made people out there. It's Courtney Morrison with Made Architecture and Design, back with another week in review. So we're going to keep going with this kind of new format. I apologize if it's still a little clunky, but I'm still just figuring it out. So we'll get into it. So, last week was a good snapshot of what it looks like to run a small, kind of community-focused architecture firm in the middle of winter when it's cold and we can be, stuck inside when we don't want to be stuck inside, and juggling some complex projects, some other responsibilities that I have in addition to my family life. So I'll walk you through some of this as we go on. So we'll start with the weekend and family time. So it was really cold. We were stuck inside most of Saturday and Sunday as well. So usually it's a family. We like to be out and playing with our daughter and go to a park and do all these things. But when it's this cold, it just makes it a little bit more difficult. And so really, these sort of cold winter weekends should help me relax and reset and be ready for a week of meetings and calls and projects and all of these things. But really, they kind of make me crazy. I'm curious if any of you guys feel the same way. But I just kind of feel, anxious and purposeless when we don't have really things to do. And so that's unfortunate, and I have to work through that and come to terms with that, and try to get better at handling those days and those times. But if any of you guys have the same kind of struggle as me, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts in the comments. So that was the weekend. On Monday, I jumped into working on our personal taxes with my wife, and for the 2025 tax year, which is really not the most glamorous task. Obviously, I don't think anybody enjoys doing their taxes, but it's just part of what we have to do. And then we are going to remodel our home office, which is what you see in the backdrop here. We're going to remodel our home office this year. And so her and I started talking through what we want to do or need to do, and really trying to apply our thoughtfully made ethos to our own home office space and figure out what that looks like for us. And so really we need some more desk space, and we need some more storage space and things like that. So we drew up the plan of the office and talked through what the different configurations could be and what would function best for us. And so eventually we'll pull the trigger on that this year and get that done. And then later on Monday, I sent out permit drawings for the mother-in-law suite project that I've been working on in Roswell. And this one's interesting because from a land development standpoint, it looks much more like a commercial project than it does a residential addition. And that means extra layers of requirements, coordination, and even though it looks like just an addition, it's actually got a good bit more complexity in terms of, stormwater treatment. We're filing for a land disturbance permit because we're within 200 feet of state waters. We've got erosion control measures that we've got to comply with and things like that. So it's really, a lot more complex, and it reinforces something that I believe in terms of, the projects that I take on, is that there are no easy projects, no simple projects, and no straightforward projects. And so this is a perfect example of that. There are only projects that require time and thought and care to execute. And so this is a great example of that. But it's out for permit, and so hopefully we'll be getting that one under construction soon. And then on Monday night, I attended a Historic Preservation Committee meeting. Here, I will share the full story of this project in a later week in review video, I think, kind of once everything's wrapped up and resolved. But suffice to say, we had to go back to the Historic Preservation Committee after construction began. So we're kind of dealing with that, and those meetings can be tense, and but they're important. And so my role is to help my client navigate the rules, protect the historic character where we can, and still move the project forward with kind of all the stakeholders, the city, the Historic Preservation Committee, even the neighbors who get a voice in this public realm. And so it's tough, and it can be a difficult task. And then on Tuesday, I started off by answering an RFI, which is a request for information from a contractor who's we're rebuilding a house that was burned down. And he sent me a question about the stairs and the stair dimensions and making them code compliant. And so I'm really grateful when these questions come my way. It can be a little arduous sometimes, but it's nice to know that he's looking at the drawings, he's thinking about it, and he sees the same complexities that I do. So he asked the question. I was able to look back through our drawings and say, okay, yes, here, they meet the code requirements. If you see something different in the field, let me know and we can adjust, because maybe there's a discrepancy or something that I just don't see yet, that he sees. And so it's great to be able to do that, and I really encourage owners and contractors to take advantage of me and my knowledge of the project and the drawings through construction. And so we did that, and then I worked the rest of the day on Tuesday on house plans for a remodel project in Sandy Springs that I'm working on. The owner, he knows that his space doesn't work for him, but he is not necessarily sure what his options are. And so he asked me if we could work through the conceptual phase and kind of come up with some ideas to better serve him. And so, this is I would say, the core of my business, that drawings are a commodity. You can purchase them on the internet, but that doesn't mean they're going to meet your specific needs and your specific requirements. And so that's why architecture exists, to make thoughtfully made spaces for thoughtfully made people. And so this is a great example of that, is that he has an existing house. It's not functioning the way he would like for it to function. And so he's trying to figure out what he can do. And so for me, that's time, heads down, sketching, drawing, building 3D models, things like that, to try to figure out how best to serve him. And so on Wednesday, that was Tuesday, and then on Wednesday I shifted gears and updated the financial projection spreadsheet for the church plant that we've joined. We had a meeting on Thursday. This is our monthly meeting, and so just looking at the finances of the church. And so these are things that take time, but obviously aren't architecture. But it's nice I'm obviously running my own architecture firm from a financial perspective, and so to help run this church from a financial perspective, there's some overlap there, and it's great to be able to use these things that I've learned as a business owner to help this new church. So I enjoy doing that. And then I had a call with one of the city council members for the historic remodel project. I had reached out to all of them to try to have a conversation ahead of the meeting. Really, the point of that was I did not want to walk into the city council meeting blind, and it'd be the first time they were hearing about this. So I just talked to each of them and said, hey, here, this is what's going on. This is coming across your desk. And so I'm grateful that I was able to get in touch with most of them. And then later that day, I had a meeting for the pizza company, like I've talked about in previous videos. We have a budget gap there to overcome, and so I went and met with them to talk through some of the options. And so this is important because, really my job is to help them understand and make sure I'm clear on, what the objectives of the project are, where we can dial back scope, still meet their goals and their plans and their objectives. And, as we take scope out, think about what that does to the overall project. And then on Thursday, I had the leadership team meeting for the church. And, it's really exciting to, do that and see that. And I'm enjoying doing that. And then I came back to the office and closed out the January books. I invoiced for January. And so these are things that are, again, not glamorous, but making money and getting paid is what allows the business to keep running and for me to be able to serve clients. So I did that, and then I recorded a week in review video similar to what you're watching now. And then later I had a conversation about a housing project for a local nonprofit that I know the owners of, and the nonprofit rescues women from sex trafficking. And so they actually are going to build some short-term housing for some of these women and their children to, be able to live as they rebuild their lives. And so I'm very excited to be involved, and, it reminds me that architecture matters, even though, it may not be, this may not get published on the cover of a magazine or anything like that. Me creating spaces for these women is very important to the organization and to these women. And so, it just reinforces that, thoughtfully made spaces for thoughtfully made people aspect. So I'm excited to be a part of that team. And then on Friday, I was back in the Sandy Springs house remodel project, and this time I had the floor plan reasonably worked out, and then I was looking at the roofs. I would say our roof options. Really, this is one of my pet peeves in architecture, particularly residential architecture. roof lines and how this comes together, and the building sheds water. Like, it's so important, and roofs can do so much for the scale and proportion of a building, or does it look this way or that way, this style or that style. And so really trying to figure that out and still think through what best serves the client. And so you don't necessarily, it's a roof, but what can we do with that roof? Do we have skylights and clear stories, or how do we get natural light into the building? There's things like that where it's not just the umbrella over the building. It serves more purpose and more function than that. And so I got that done, and then I had a call that we have weekly with some other architects, and Chris and Thomas, who are friends. They run small architecture firms, same as me. And so, that's a hugely important aspect of, being in this business, is to have a peer group. And so I think peer groups are, functional in many different aspects of life. And these need to be people that, you can trust, and we have each other's mutual success in mind. And so if you don't have a peer group, highly, highly encourage you to find one. And I'm grateful for these guys and their presence in my life and my business, and what they mean to me and how they help me grow. So that was good. That wrapped up Friday. So that's all I have for this week. And really looking back, the thread that ties this whole thing together is learning to kind of navigate complexity from unusual permits, code issues, budget gaps, the historic preservation, even the church budget stuff. All of that is complex, but also, making an investment in people, my clients, my church, my community, my family, all of these things. This is kind of the thread that weaves this all together. And so, if you enjoy this behind the scenes look at a small architecture firm and how it intersects with, life and community, hit the like and subscribe button. It really does help, and I really do appreciate it. And let me know in the comments if there's a particular part of this week that you found most interesting, or you would like to hear more about. If you have any questions, about who we are, what we do, or how we do it, I would love to interact with you guys in the comments, or perhaps address a comment in a future week in review video. So thanks for watching. That's all I have for now. Y'all be particular.